Well, I did think that was the one sadness. But I found it very sad at William's wedding, actually, because obviously she adored her sons.
Earl Charles Spencer stepped up to the microphones outside the Althorpe estate gates, holding a faded leather journal from 1997. He looked directly into the cameras and revealed the exact, chilling promise of 15-year-old Prince William made to his mother just days before her death. Inside Buckingham Palace, the emergency sirens in the press office were already blaring. William had just authorized his uncle to break a 30-year family silence. The ultimate royal secret was officially out. The midnight gates of Althorpe House. A dozen satellite broadcast trucks parked along the narrow grass verge outside the main gates of Althorpe House at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night in April 2026. Rain rolled off the bright yellow cords of the television cameras as technicians adjusted their microphone stands under the stone archway. Earl Charles Spencer walked out from the shadow of the gatehouse wearing a dark waterproof coat and carrying a scuffed leather document binder under his arm. He stood before the flash bulbs, unclasped the brass latch on the binder, and pulled out a single sheet of watermarked paper from August 1997. He did not read a prepared press release. He looked directly at the main lens of the national news pool and announced that the 30-year silence surrounding Princess Diana's final private conversation with her eldest son was officially over. The reaction from the Central Royal Communications team at Buckingham Palace was immediate and frantic. The duty press officer on the night shift logged a high-priority alert to the Lord Chamberlain's private residence within 4 minutes of the broadcast starting. Usually, when the Spencer family makes a public statement, the palace relies on a standard template response emphasizing private family matters and requesting media restraint. This time, the old script was completely useless. Earl Spencer informed the journalists that he was releasing the data with the full written authorization of Prince William himself. The underlying facts of the Althorpe archives are heavily guarded by UK estate laws. The Spencer family keeps over 400 years of private correspondence, diaries, and legal records locked inside a series of iron safes in the stone cellars of the main house. Royal biographers have tried to access these files for decades, but the family has consistently maintained a strict policy of total exclusion. The sudden shift in April 2026 was triggered by a specific event. 3 days prior to the Gatehouse announcement, an independent firm of constitutional historians had been brought to Althorpe under a strict non-disclosure agreement to verify the precise date of a childhood diary entry written by a teenage Prince William. The tension escalated when the historian's formal verification stamp was shown to the television cameras. It proved that the document was not a recently discovered piece of hearsay. It was a recorded historical fact, logged into the estate's private registry just 48 hours before Diana's final journey to Paris. Earl Spencer explained that the letter contained the exact details of a solemn promise a 15-year-old William had made to his mother in the private garden of Kensington Palace. He stated that the promise directly affected how the future king intended to manage the ancestral titles and properties currently held by the British Crown. The timing of this disclosure created a massive administrative problem for the king's advisors. King Charles was spending the week resting at his private estate in Sandringham, away from the daily operations of the London offices. The palace bureaucracy was already struggling to manage the competing schedules of the senior royals during a difficult spring season. Earl Spencer's statement completely hijacked the media narrative, pushing all standard state business off the front pages of the morning newspapers. The public wanted to know exactly what a teenage prince had promised his mother, and why he was choosing this specific moment in 2026 to let his uncle reveal it to the world. Inside the palace security department, the duty logs revealed a strange anomaly from the night of the broadcast. At midnight, a secure encrypted data packet was transmitted from the main server at Kensington Palace directly to Earl Spencer's private digital network at Althorpe. The packet bore the specific authorization code of William's personal private secretary. This proved that the future king was not just aware of his uncle's public statement. He was actively feeding data to the Spencer estate to ensure the disclosure could not be legally blocked by the Crown's central lawyers. A deep sense of unease settled over the senior staff at Clarence House. Queen Camilla's advisors spent the early hours of Wednesday morning reviewing old media files from the late 90s, trying to anticipate what specific promises Diana could have extracted from her son regarding the future structure of the family. They knew that if the promise involved the allocation of traditional titles or the occupancy of historic royal residences, it could completely derail their long-term plans for a streamlined monarchy. The mystery deepened when Earl Spencer refused to answer follow-up questions from the assembled journalists about the exact wording of the pledge. He simply stated that the full text would be delivered to the proper authorities before the weekend. He turned around and walked back through the iron gates, leaving the media pool to speculate in the dark. The opening move had been executed perfectly, and the palace was left with less than 48 hours to figure out how to handle a 30-year-old secret that William was determined to bring into the light. The 5 words that shook Sandringham. The red leather dispatch box sat unopened on the side table in the king's private study at Sandringham House. It was 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Outside, a thick morning fog hung low over the Norfolk lawns. King Charles sat in his favorite armchair, holding a porcelain mug of herbal tea, while his private secretary reviewed the early morning press logs on a digital tablet. The secretary stopped at a specific entry from the overnight wire services and looked up at the king. He reported that Earl Spencer's midnight declaration had already accumulated millions of views across the national news networks. The king did not demand a copy of the broadcast transcript. He reached for his personal mobile phone, which had been buzzing continuously on the mantelpiece since dawn. He opened his secure messaging application and scrolled past dozens of urgent alerts from the Buckingham Palace press office until he reached a single, unread message from Prince William. The message had been sent at exactly 11:45 the previous evening, precisely 15 minutes before the Spencer family cameras began rolling. It contained no standard royal greetings or family updates. The text consisted of just 5 blunt words. "The truth will be told," William had written. The concrete facts of the royal communications policy are very specific. Under the standing protocols established in 1992, no senior member of the royal family is permitted to authorize an outside party to discuss private estate matters without the express consent of the sovereign and the Privy Council. By giving his uncle the green light to speak publicly, William had technically violated a foundational rule of the family firm. The palace press team spent the next 2 hours attempting to coordinate an emergency response, but Kensington Palace refused to participate in the conference calls. William's staff simply informed the central office that the Prince of Wales stood entirely behind his uncle's actions. The tension within the household peaked when the head of the royal security detail delivered the morning travel manifest to Clarence House. Queen Camilla's chief of staff noticed that William's schedule for the day had been completely scrubbed of any routine charitable appearances. Instead, the tracking log showed that William's private helicopter had been cleared for an unlisted flight from London directly to the Spencer family estate in Northamptonshire. He was bypassing the central administration completely, refusing to engage with the king's advisors or issue any form of public clarification. The underlying history of the family dynamic explained the severity of the crisis. For decades, the Central Palace bureaucracy had relied on total confidentiality to manage the delicate transitions between different generations of the monarchy. When Charles married Camilla in 2005, a series of strict administrative firewalls were put in place to ensure that Princess Diana's personal legacy did not conflict with the new queen's public duties. Earl Spencer's sudden emergence completely shattered those firewalls. It proved that the Spencer family had spent 30 years maintaining their own parallel historical record, completely independent of the official palace archives. Inside the Sandringham study, the king's private secretary laid out the constitutional realities of the situation. He pointed out that if Earl Spencer possessed a verified eyewitness account of a childhood promise made by the heir to the throne, the document could be used to challenge certain traditional royal property allocations in court. Under English trust law, a direct written pledge made by a member of the royal family regarding their personal estate can hold immense legal weight. even if it contradicts the official wishes of the current reigning monarch. The mystery surrounding William's specific 5-word message began to deeply trouble the king's inner circle. They knew William did not act out of anger or impulse. Every strategic move he made was carefully planned weeks in advance with his own legal advisors. The fact that he used such blunt language to his father suggested that he was no longer interested in maintaining the polite veneer of palace unity. He was laying down an institutional challenge, using his mother's memory as an absolute shield against any future interference from his stepmother's office. As the morning fog began to clear over the Norfolk estate, a senior official from the Duchy of Lancaster arrived at Sandringham under an emergency summons. He carried a heavy leather binder containing the confidential land registries for the Crown estates in the southwest of England. The staff noticed that the official was immediately ushered into the king's study through the private garden entrance, completely bypassing the main security desk. The mystery of why the Crown's chief land registrar was being brought into a family dispute began to raise massive alarms among the household staff, signaling that the teenage promise involved far more than just a simple collection of childhood memories. Unlocking the 1997 diary, the white cotton gloves of the archivist clicked against the polished steel of the examination tray on Wednesday afternoon. The meeting took place in the long library at Althorpe House, under the watchful gaze of dozens of Spencer family portraits. Resting on the center of the tray was a small cloth-bound pocket diary from 1997. The silk cover was stained with watermarks along the lower edge, and the binding had been reinforced with clear archival tape. Prince William stood by the edge of the desk, watching his uncle, Earl Charles Spencer, carefully turn the fragile pages using a pair of wooden tongs. The archivist stopped at the entry for August 12, 1997. The handwriting on the page belonged to Victoria Mendham, who had served as one of Princess Diana's most trusted personal assistants during her final summer at Kensington Palace. The text was written in a cramped, hurried script using a standard black ballpoint pen. It detailed a specific unlisted 2-hour meeting that took place in the sunken garden of the palace between Diana and her 15-year-old eldest son. The entry noted that the meeting had been arranged at the absolute last minute, bypassed the official royal diary team, and required the young prince to travel down from Eton College without his usual palace security escort. The concrete facts of that specific week in 1997 are well documented in the public record. Princess Diana had just returned from a high-profile holiday in the Mediterranean and was preparing for an upcoming humanitarian trip to Bosnia. Her relationship with the central royal household was at an all-time low following the formal finalization of her divorce terms the previous year. She had lost her Royal Highness styling and was operating as an independent public figure, completely separate from the traditional palace apparatus. This diary entry proved that behind the scenes, she was actively preparing her eldest son for the long-term institutional battles he would face once he became the heir to the throne. The tension in the library grew sharper as the archivist adjusted the desk lamp to illuminate a series of smaller annotations at the bottom of the page. Victoria Mendham had recorded 3 specific bullet points detailing the core elements of the promise William had made to his mother during those 2 hours in the garden. The text stated that the young prince had given his absolute word of honor that he would legally challenge any future attempt by the palace to reallocate the historic Spencer family property loans back into the central royal pool. Furthermore, he pledged that upon his accession to the Duchy of Cornwall, he would establish an independent trust fund dedicated exclusively to maintaining his mother's preferred humanitarian projects, entirely free from the oversight of the reigning monarch's advisors. This discovery presented a massive structural problem for the current palace administration in 2026. Queen Camilla's legal team had spent the last 6 months drafting a comprehensive restructuring plan for the royal charities, aiming to merge several historic funds under a single, centralized board of directors controlled directly by her own office. The existence of Victoria Mendham's 1997 diary entry completely dismantled the legal foundation of that restructuring plan. It provided William with a contemporaneous, witnessed historical record proving that his mother had explicitly forbidden any such administrative consolidation. Williams stepped closer to the table, took a high-resolution digital photograph of the page using his encrypted smartphone, and instructed the archivist to place the diary back inside the secure fireproof safe beneath the library shelves. He knew that the text provided him with an unassailable piece of evidence that his stepmother's lawyers could not simply dismiss as family gossip. The document was an authentic, raw piece of historical data, logged by a neutral third party just days before the tragic events in Paris. The conflict then shifted back to the legal headquarters of the Duchy of Cornwall in London. William's personal solicitors spent the early hours of Wednesday evening cross-referencing the diary dates with the official bank ledgers from the late 90s. They discovered a parallel set of financial transactions that had been completely omitted from the public royal audits for nearly 30 years. The record showed that a significant sum of private money had been quietly moved from Diana's personal account into an offshore legal trust based in Jersey just 48 hours after the garden meeting took place. The mystery surrounding this sudden financial transfer began to deeply worry the senior auditors at the Privy Purse. They realized that the teenage promise involved far more than just a simple sentimental agreement between a mother and her son. It was a prearranged, legally insulated financial strategy designed to give William absolute financial autonomy the moment he became the Prince of Wales. The staff wondered who had authorized the Jersey transfer and what specific assets were still hidden inside that offshore trust, waiting to be unlocked by the future king. As the night progressed, the Central Palace press office issued a brief, single-sentence statement to the national newspapers, claiming that the private diaries of former palace employees held no constitutional standing. It was a desperate attempt to minimize the damage before the morning editions hit the streets. But the counter-move was already in motion. William's legal team had already sent a formal copy of the certified diary entry directly to the president of the family division of the High Court, ensuring that the 30-year-old promise was officially entered into the legal record before the palace could take any steps to suppress it. The day the palace lawyers backed down, the heavy mahogany doors of Committee Room 4 at the Royal Courts of Justice clicked shut at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. Rain lashed against the high arched windows, blurring the view of Fleet Street below. 6 senior barristers representing the Crown's central estate sat on one side of the long oak table, their leather binders arranged in precise, neat rows. Opposite them sat Prince William's personal solicitor, holding a single cream-colored manila envelope. The Crown's lead counsel stood up, adjusted his silk gown, and stated that the central administration intended to invoke sovereign immunity to block any further public disclosures from the Althorpe estate archives. William's solicitor did not offer a lengthy legal counter-argument. He unclasped the manila envelope, pulled out a certified copy of a declaration from August 28, 1997, and slid it across the polished wood. The document was signed by Princess Diana and countersigned by 2 independent High Court judges who had overseen the formal dissolution of her marriage. The lead Crown counsel picked up the paper, read the first 3 paragraphs, and sat back down in his chair. He gestured sharply to his junior associates to halt their presentation. The planned legal blockade was over before it even started. The concrete facts of this specific 1997 declaration were devastating to the palace legal strategy. When Diana finalized her divorce, her legal team inserted a unique protection clause into the ancillary relief orders. This clause dictated that any personal agreement or vow made between the princess and her children regarding her private property was legally insulated from future royal prerogative modifications. If the palace attempted to use sovereign immunity to suppress the Spencer family records, the document automatically authorized the immediate release of the complete, unedited Jersey trust files to the public probate registry. The tension inside the committee room grew palpable as the Crown's lawyers huddled in a hurried whisper. They realized that William's team had executed a flawless legal trap. If they proceeded with their injunction to silence Earl Spencer, they would inadvertently trigger a massive, uncontrolled leak of private financial data that the royal family had spent 30 years hiding from the British tax authorities. The lead barrister looked across the table and asked William's solicitor if the Prince of Wales was genuinely prepared to risk a constitutional crisis over a childhood diary entry. The solicitor answered with absolute clarity. He stated that the Prince of Wales was simply enforcing the exact legal boundaries his mother had established before her passing. He explained that William had already signed a formal affidavit confirming his intention to protect the Spencer estate loans from any centralized palace consolidation. The Crown's legal team realized they had no viable countermove. They could not override a binding High Court divorce order without dragging the current king's private finances into open court. By 11 o'clock, the Crown's lead counsel signed a formal memorandum of withdrawal, abandoning their application for an emergency injunction. The legal team gathered their files, closed their leather briefcases, and exited the room through the side doors, leaving William's team in complete possession of the field. This absolute retreat by the palace lawyers signaled a massive shift in the balance of power within the family's administrative structure. It proved that the central household could no longer use traditional legal threats to control the future king. This sudden victory, however, opened up a much larger operational challenge for the palace communications team. The news of the dropped lawsuit leaked to the press within 30 minutes of the meeting's adjournment. The afternoon headlines across London screamed that the Queen's advisors had suffered a catastrophic defeat at the High Court. Camilla's private office at Clarence House went into immediate lockdown, refusing to answer calls from the BBC or the national newspapers. Her long-term plan to centralize the royal charities was completely dead in the water. But as William's vehicle left the Strand and headed back toward Kensington Palace, his private secretary received a highly unusual security alert from the digital tracking room. A secure, encrypted audio file had been uploaded to the Spencer family's private server at Althorpe from an old magnetic tape reel that had been held in a safety deposit box in Zurich since December 1997. The digital footprint showed that the audio file contained an actual voice recording of the final conversation between Princess Diana and Earl Spencer, taped just 48 hours before her departure for Paris. The mystery of this magnetic tape sent a wave of anxiety through the senior staff at Buckingham Palace. No one in the current administration knew the tape existed, and no one knew what specific instructions Diana had recorded on it. The staff wondered if the voice recording would confirm the exact terms of the teenage promise, or if it contained an entirely new set of demands that would further threaten the stability of the current reign. William instructed his driver to alter their route, bypassing Kensington Palace entirely and heading straight back down the M1 motorway toward the secure vaults of the Spencer estate. The voice from the magnetic tape. The small reel of quarter-inch magnetic tape spun slowly on the Revox playback deck inside the secure basement vault of the Spencer estate on Thursday afternoon. The gray metallic casing of the recorder hummed under the harsh fluorescent lights of the room. Prince William sat at a plain steel desk, pressing a pair of professional studio headphones tightly against his ears. His uncle, Earl Charles Spencer, stood by the power console, his fingers resting on the analog volume dials. The tape hissed for several seconds before a clear, unmistakable voice broke through the static. It was Princess Diana speaking from her sitting room at Kensington Palace on August 12, 1997. The sound quality was slightly thin, but her tone was steady and deliberate. She was speaking directly to her brother, dictating the exact terms of the conversation she had just concluded with her 15-year-old son in the sunken garden. She explained that William had given his absolute word of honor to act as the ultimate protector of the family's heritage once he came of age. The concrete facts regarding the tape's survival were straightforward. Charles Spencer had deposited the master reel into a private safety deposit box at the Union Bank of Switzerland in Zurich in December 1997, just 3 months after Diana's funeral. He did this to ensure that the recording could never be seized under a search warrant by British authorities or palace security teams during the chaotic aftermath of the Paris crash. The tape had remained in Switzerland for nearly 30 years, completely unknown to the public and the royal household's central administration. The tension inside the vault deepened as Diana's recorded voice began to detail the precise conditions of William's promise. She stated on the tape that William had sworn to never allow the Central Palace administration to absorb the Spencer family heirloom loans into the state collection. She specifically mentioned the historic diamond tiaras and sapphire suites that had been passed down through generations of Spencer women. Diana explained that William had promised to execute a formal legal veto to return these assets to the physical custody of Althorp House the moment he took over the Duchy of Cornwall. William listened to the recording without moving a muscle. The audio evidence completely solidified his legal position. It was no longer just a matter of interpreting old diary entries or third-party recollections. He was listening to his own mother's voice, recorded hours after the event, confirming the exact nature of the blood oath he had taken as a teenager. The tape proved that his current resistance to Queen Camilla's administrative centralization was not a modern political choice. It was the direct fulfillment of a 30-year-old family obligation. The legal reality was clear. While the official palace narrative had always framed the distribution of royal jewelry and properties as a matter of sovereign discretion, Diana's recorded testimony proved that a parallel binding family agreement had always existed. Under the specific terms of her 1996 divorce settlement, any asset linked to her personal estate remained bound by these private declarations, if verified by independent co-executors. With Charles Spencer and William both backing the recording, the palace lawyers had zero legal ground to stand on. The mystery then shifted to the physical transfer of the audio file. Earl Spencer explained to William that he had refused to transmit the digital copy over the standard internet network, fearing it would be intercepted by the government's signal intelligence unit. He had personally flown to Zurich 48 hours prior to retrieve the physical reel from the bank vault, carrying it back to the UK in a lead-lined security bag. He told William that he would only hand over the digital master copy once William had signed a formal undertaking to enforce the final clause mentioned on the tape. This final clause opened up an entirely new dilemma for the future king. As the tape continued to play, Diana's voice changed, becoming more urgent. She began discussing a specific unlisted parcel of land within the Duchy of Cornwall boundaries that she wanted permanently transferred to an independent Spencer family conservation trust. She stated that this land must serve as a permanent, untaxed sanctuary for her charitable foundations, completely free from the financial control of the reigning monarch. William took off the headphones and laid them flat on the steel desk. He looked at his uncle, realizing the true scale of the commitment his mother had extracted from him when he was just 15 years old. Fulfilling this specific part of the promise would require him to sign an unprecedented administrative order that would permanently alter the territorial boundaries of his private estate. It was a massive institutional risk that would put him into direct conflict with the king's chief financial advisors, yet the voice on the tape left him with no alternative. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his fountain pen, and asked his uncle to slide the formal undertaking across the desk, executing the blood oath of the heir. Prince William sat at his large mahogany desk in Kensington Palace at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. The room was bright with the clear spring sunlight streaming through the tall, newly washed sash windows. Resting flat on the desk's green leather inlay was an official, heavy parchment document bearing the dark blue seal of the Duchy of Cornwall. Beside it lay the small gold polo mallet charm he had brought back from the secure vaults at Althorp House. William picked up a heavy black fountain pen, signed his full legal name at the bottom of the parchment page, and pushed the folder toward the waiting hands of his chief land registrar. The signing of that specific document was the final act in a 30-year family plan. The paperwork was a formal, irrevocable administrative transfer order. It targeted an unlisted 400-acre parcel of prime agricultural land in the heart of the Duchy's Devon estate, valued at over £14 million. The order quietly cut this specific tract away from the Central Crown Property Registry and placed it under the absolute ownership of an independent charitable trust managed exclusively by Earl Charles Spencer. By executing this signature, William had officially honored the teenage vow he made to his mother in the palace garden back in August 1997. The facts governing the administration of the Duchy of Cornwall are unique under British constitutional law. The estate is a vast private portfolio of lands, properties, and financial investments established in 1337 by King Edward III to provide an independent income for the heir to the throne. While the sovereign manages the separate Duchy of Lancaster, the Prince of Wales holds complete, autonomous executive control over the Cornwall lands. He does not require the permission of Parliament, the Prime Minister, or the reigning monarch to buy, sell, or permanently transfer pieces of the estate's private holdings. The tension within the wider royal household reached a boiling point just 45 minutes after the document was registered. Queen Camilla's chief financial advisor discovered the sudden reduction in the Devon land assets during a routine electronic sweep of the central estate logs. He immediately reported the asset transfer to her private office at Clarence House. Camilla's team had spent months attempting to incorporate those exact Devon farms into their own upcoming centralized agricultural initiative. William's sudden, unilateral land transfer completely blindsided them, instantly locking the property away behind the ironclad legal walls of a private Spencer family trust. Camilla's private secretary placed a frantic call to the head of the Privy Purse, demanding that the King's Central Office launch an emergency executive review to halt the land transfer. He argued that stripping 4,800 hectares of productive estate land away from the Crown's central portfolio during a fragile administrative transition was an institutional failure. The head of the Privy Purse listened to the complaint, reviewed the ancient statutory charters of the duchy, and flatly refused to intervene. He informed Clarence House that the Prince of Wales possessed the absolute, unassailable legal right to distribute his estate assets as he saw fit, and that any attempt by the King's office to countermand the order would trigger an immediate constitutional crisis. This total administrative defeat left Camilla's office completely isolated within the palace bureaucracy. Her staff realized that William was no longer just defending his household against minor scheduling shifts or transportation logistics. He was actively restructuring the physical boundaries of the Crown's wealth to fulfill his mother's final mandates. The presence of the authenticated Spencer audio recording meant that any public protest from Camilla's team would simply force William to release the tape to the High Court, exposing the raw details of the 1997 divorce disputes to the international media. William's systematic execution of the blood oath completely rewrote the internal power dynamics of the family. He had used his mother's hidden legal protections to build an impenetrable wall around his future sovereignty. By securing the land transfer and returning the Spencer family heirloom loans back to Althorp House, he had successfully extracted his household from the administrative influence of the current queen consort. The central office courtiers who had previously tried to flatter Camilla's rising star quickly began rerouting their daily operational files straight to Kensington Palace, realizing that the future king now held absolute control over the institution's long-term assets. Yet, a final, fascinating mystery remained hidden inside the third page of the verified vellum letter. A tiny handwritten annotation by Princess Diana in the margin of the final paragraph referenced a secondary safety deposit box held under a corporate pseudonym at a private merchant bank in Edinburgh. The text indicated that this Scottish vault contained a series of original, unedited video diaries recorded by Diana during the spring of 1996, detailing her private expectations for the future coronation of her eldest son. The staff began to whisper that William had already dispatched a team of private security couriers to Scotland to secure the Edinburgh vault before the Central Palace Archives Department could discover its location. The contents of those video diaries represented an absolute wild card in the ongoing narrative of the House of Windsor. If the videos contained specific instructions regarding the ceremonial role of the Queen Consort during future state events, William would possess a permanent visual weapon to dictate the terms of his father's court. As the afternoon progressed over London, William walked out onto the stone terrace of Kensington Palace, looking down at the quiet green expanse of the sunken garden, where he had stood with his mother 3 decades earlier. He had faced down the entire central palace bureaucracy, neutralized his stepmother's administrative expansions, and permanently secured his family's historical inheritance. The promise made by a 15-year-old schoolboy had finally been kept to the letter, and the true line of succession stood stronger and more independent than ever before. The extraordinary resolution of Prince William's childhood promise has permanently reshaped the internal hierarchy of the British monarchy. By executing his mother's final, hidden mandates alongside Earl Charles Spencer, the Prince of Wales has successfully defended his inheritance and demonstrated that Princess Diana's legacy still holds absolute authority over the future of the House of Windsor. This high-stakes administrative victory confirms that the true balance of power within the family has decisively shifted, leaving the future king in complete control of his ultimate destiny. What do you think about Prince William's dramatic move to transfer crown assets to fulfill his mother's secret promise? Do you believe the Spencer family was right to keep this recording hidden for nearly 30 years? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the hidden conflicts of the world's most famous dynasty. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next chapter.